Not one of them is saying we need to redo the divorce laws. Not one of them says that, but yet all of them just say, just trust us. We, love us, this and that. After they talked about their promiscuous past, that's one. And then two, they don't even want to take the last name of this. I would ask Michael, if you're talking about, hey, just find a woman that won't divorce you, would you trust any of these ladies on the panel to get married and think that none of them are going to you over with a prenup idea? I'm more than certain he's going to be like, yeah, of course you're not going to trust these ladies. Michael Knowles of the Michael Knowles Show from the Daily Wire recently went on the Whatever podcast where he spoke about marriage, abortion, relationships, etc. And one of the sections that I kind of find myself disagreeing when it comes to the right comes to marriage. And a lot of these issues kind of strive on the right wing's perspective of marriage is more of, it does work if we were in the 1950s.
If you're already going to have a life partner, which sounds, I'm sorry to say, kind of gay. Like it's not gendered, it's not traditional.
Thank you for saying that.
It's just if you're going to do that anyway, but you want to protect against divorce, why not just marry a woman who's not going to get divorced?
Well, or get a prenup.
Thing, literally.
So you're saying like, well, if you find a great woman that that's
not even just that. I'm saying because you could find the most wonderful woman in the world, and then I don't know, someday something goes off in her brain and she totally turns on you.
Totally.
But what if you create the structures such that you're not going to get divorced? I'll give you an example. I'm Catholic. My wife and I cannot get divorced. She could murder me. That would be her way out of the marriage. But it is not possible for us to get divorced. Now, if let's say you're not Catholic yet, and maybe you don't, you haven't worked through these things. If before you get married, you sign a prenup, but not the kind of prenup now, not the kind of prenup where you say, okay, in case we get divorced, we get 50-50. What if you sign a prenup that says, if you divorce me,
I will kill you.
Yeah, I'll kill you. Whoever brings the divorce forfeits everything. That's the Knowles prenup. And then you're safe. She's not going to take your kids, and she's not going to take your money. And you get to be married and not have a life partner.
Sure. I mean,
Okay, yeah. So Michael Knowles brings up this scenario. So why not just make a custom prenup to whoever initiates the divorce, loses out on everything. What he fails to realize is that the vast majority of these marriages, women tend to marry into wealth to where men build their wealth. So it's not off rip, not even an even trade. That's one problem. Two, another thing is what he said right there, whoever initiates the divorce. So a guy can literally walk into his home after a long days at work, come right into his bedroom, and he sees his wife on her knees on the bed sucking some other dude off. And then she can look right at him and say, what's up, baby? You want to divorce me? And then she's clear. She go ahead, divorce her, bro. You're going to lose half your shit because she ain't going to divorce you after that. So that's where it becomes the problem. And that's another problem with like no fault divorce, which also kind of caters to the woman as well. So if a woman's smart and she wants to get divorced, she could do literally whatever she wants so long as she gets fired from her job. Once she gets fired, then guess what? She's going to be getting paid that alimony. She's going to get getting paid until she can find some other new sap to do the same thing to. So that's a big problem that Michael isn't necessarily thinking about. It's like, okay, ball and chain. And a lot of these people like Jordan Peterson, the guys over there at the Daily Wire, kind of promote this aspect that once you get married, it's like a ball and chain. And Michael's kind of a little bit on a feminine side where he talks about, once we're married, it's a soulmate type of thing. And that's kind of the problem there is that he's going to relate when he's talking about marriage. A lot of the women here are like, oh my God, that's great. That's sweet. I like that. I want a man just like that. And this is after, mind you, Michael Knowles already knows this. This is after they stated stuff like their body counts and all of the promiscuous things that they were doing before. So Michael Knowles is completely 100% aware of that. But I guess he doesn't realize that the women just want to have their cake and eat it as well.
I'd love to bring on a family attorney to ask him questions about this, but kind of what I've heard and my understanding when it comes to prenuptial agreements is that oftentimes they can be thrown out, and I don't think prenups can apply to post-marriage. So you can protect your assets that you've acquired pre-marriage. I could be totally off base here, but I've heard prenups can get thrown out. Someone could say, oh, I was signed it under duress, blah, blah, blah.
I think that's the biggest one. If a woman feels like she signed the prenup out of distress, she can easily get a lawyer to throw that prenup right out the window. And she could have signed that shit 10 years ago and say that she felt like she was under distress because the man is usually the one that brings up the prenup. So you have to keep updating the prenup like every year in order to kind of keep that shit updated as the years go by. So prenups, people might say just sign it as if it's like a one signature type of thing and there's like no problems after that, but it's not necessarily the case.
Unfair. It's there's a specific term for it that's evading me right now. It's
But is that why you don't want to get married? Because you're afraid of the divorce potentially?
Afraid of women.
Why not just date another successful woman?
Do you have
not
trust
into it.
issues, Brian?
well, this
Sounds like
See how they're shaming him? Do you have trust issues?
Yeah.
trust
Pile-
issues.
pile
It's just
on.
Michael and the girls here.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Michael is kind of taking the feminist point of view on this, where it's like a Disney fairy tale, and the women love that. Again, this is after they've already told Michael about how much of a whore they are dating multiple dudes and sucking off guys. And Michael, of course, still kind of pictures this Disney fairy tale, but that's not necessarily the case. That's just insane.
with you, Brian.
Like if you dated another successful woman, wouldn't that fear kind of disappear? Because then, if anything, it's like she could be scared of your.
What if she's more
you taking
successful
her
than
money
you?
or
Like,
something
what if
like
she's
that?
making more money than you are?
Yeah. Like why are we
But
assuming
also,
that you're the breadwinner?
you want a wife, right? I mean, you.
Yeah, the problem with that is dating a girl that's more successful. What they fail to mention is hypergamy. Women tend to date on the relation scale above or equal to where men date all the way around. So the odds of a woman dating this guy Brian, that she's already very, very highly successful, she's probably not going to look at this guy as much as she would look at other potential men that are on the same level as her. But initially, men don't care about a woman's money, so it's not necessarily something that guys tend to look at on a thorough level when it comes to women and like success. So right off the rip, a lot of these chicks want to date up. They don't date equal or tend to not date equal or below. They want to be taken care of, especially a man that has the clout that this young man has.
You want to not
Apparently not.
Maybe he wants to be
He
a
wants a
What I'm
life
saying is,
partner,
like-
Mike. He wants a life partner.
Yeah, well, you're right. Okay,
wants a
maybe that does
dog.
sound. accounting
you know
for-
what's big now? Virtual girlfriends,
Yeah.
virtual wives. It's a
Is that
thing now.
Like this
AI?
one. You get an AI one?
What is a
or he'll just be
virtual
a
wife?
You know what
person.
He
they're-
wants a
in
dog
the
that speaks
future,
English.
Yeah.
But she can take all the time.
And that he wouldn't
But
get in
it's like
trouble
a thing in
for.
the future now. You can have a virtual, it's like an AI, but it will interact
We're figuring
with
out your love life
Just
here,
like,
Brian.
yeah.
Like Siri.
Why aren't you
Just
married?
put all your faith
That is
into
probably
us
gonna
and we can
happen.
figure it out for you.
Yeah, we'll figure out all your love life
We really
want to get to
issues.
the root of this problem.
Yeah.
I don't see the benefit.
This is why I asked, don't you want a wife?
Of having
It's
a
like,
companion?
I can have a companion and not be married.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm not a fan of the government, so I don't want the government involved in my love
But
affair.
if you
Do you
live
want
with
children?
someone more than 10 years,
Hell
you're
yeah.
gonna
Be
it's
legally
gonna be
married.
legally.
it's a common
Not-
law marriage anyway.
Well, not
So Michael's kind of looking there like, of course, again, Michael's taking the side where don't you want a partner, you want a wife, etc. So might as well just get married and not think about the consequences. Just sign a prenup. And I seriously doubt Michael had his wife sign a prenup that if you initiate the divorce, I'm taking half of your shit, when Michael is clearly probably a multimillionaire. So I'm more than certain his wife has literally nothing to take in the first place, to where she has all the wins in that aspect. Now, hopefully Michael never gets divorced, of course, because I think he's a good guy. But the point being is that that's utterly a ridiculous argument. And I would even go farther to say that there is no real point in marriage unless you're going to have children, man. Like, let's be honest. Here's another thing. You're fucking around, and let's say you get somebody pregnant. You guys are going to have a kid. Guess what? You're locked into that fucking dumb bimbo that you fucked for at least 18 years. 18 years. The reason why marriage is such a good thing is to make sure that the two parents, coexist with each other in order for the child to be successful and not a burden on our community. In order for the child to actually flourish. That's the whole point, because the future, our children are the future, and our children are very important. So marriage kind of secures that. So there's no real point of getting married unless you're going to raise a family. Okay, that's the main commodity for marriage. So this whole, oh, don't you want a partner? Don't you want, fucking this and that, XYZ, a girl that will always blah, 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 blah. Dudes don't want to get married. Dudes want to play the field for as long as possible. Women are the ones that do want to get married. But nowadays with feminism, of course, they teach women to just go ahead, have your hoe phase, and then you'll find a guy down the line when you're 35 years old. It does not work that way at all because, again, women's main value comes from their youth and their fertility rather than men have to build their value, okay? So this whole, marry a successful woman is absolutely ridiculous. On paper sounds good, but played in real time, it doesn't work, man. So that's the main focus for marriage, and of course, I think Matt Walsh has that perspective on things. So again, a lot of these right-wing talking heads kind of have this perspective of a marriage of that, which is fine, but they fail to recognize all of the issues that come with that. And I also believe they fail to even recognize the hypergamy of women on how like hyper that is nowadays. And Michael Knowles basically proves it in this 5-hour podcast, man.
That's only some states. Not all states have common law marriage. California,
We do.
I don't know how long. No, California does not have common law marriage.
Yeah, we
But-
do.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
My
we do.
parents are by that.
No, not
That's the
California.
only
I'm pretty sure California is not common law
Yeah,
marriage.
no.
Yeah,
That's
my
the only
parents
reason why
are
my mom
also
is still
common.
on my dad's
Google
side.
it.
Here, I'll do common law marriage.
They're legally
states, just
married by the
look it up.
state, but they've never been.
Um,
They haven't been dating since 2001.
So
They did it for
okay,
1
here:
year.
Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Montana, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Texas, Utah, and DC. Those are the only, according to this Sterling Lawyers.
Your very quick Google search. Your
Yeah, man.
2-second
So I
Bring
think
in
it's
the
a minority of
receipts.
states that have common law marriage. But yes, that is a risk factor in those states. If you are cohabitating with somebody and you almost treat your relationship as if you're married, then you are basically, in the eyes of the law, you are married. So I don't have anything against for other people. That's great. I've sort of looked at the numbers. I've done the calculus, and to me, it seems like, here, I'll put the math here. I've done the math. 50% of marriages end in divorce.
Listen to this.
And the stats I've seen, 80% of divorces are initiated
by women.
And so when I say it's bad for the man, divorce, the negative consequences of divorce typically tend to disproportionately impact men. They can impact women, but I mean, I think 97% of it's like
Alimony is granted
97%
to
of
women.
alimony payments go from men to women.
Yeah.
So there are some concerns there financially, and then just you have the government involved, and then
Yes.
it can be quite contentious. And then not only is there the consideration in terms of splitting your assets, but then you have lawyers involved. And,
Yeah.
and I don't have anything necessarily wrong, perhaps from a religious perspective with marriage, but when the state's involved, and I think we ought to perhaps rewrite marriage laws to perhaps incentivize men to get married again, because you have no fault divorce.
Yeah.
And
point.
what's the other thing? And then your wife could cheat on you and then take half your shit. I think
That's no fault
under certain
divorce.
circumstances, if you can prove it in a courtroom, that perhaps you shouldn't be on the hook for alimony if there's been some infidelity, for example.
You're saying
That's
so
what
that you
most
could
prenups
dump
are
your
for.
wife if she cheats on you?
Yes, without any
Brian,
financial.
It's over 9,000!
Perfectly
Hurt
said.
Most
you.
prenups include
Yeah.
that.
Who-
Okay,
okay.
let me ask
Like,
you a
I feel
question.
like you're
though,
always
yeah.
worried about like something gonna happen bad. Like when
Something
would you
going
just
wrong.
like you have no trust and faith in
But
these
I think
women.
it's the society we live in now.
well,
'cause
let me
there's
ask
so
you a
much
question.
bad
also, like,
things.
just-
let me
So he even brought in the numbers on there, the 50% divorce rate, the 80% of initial divorces are by women, the 90% alimony, all against the man. But yet these women, their only real argument is, well, you should have faith in the woman, and you're going to have dogs growing up. They were shaming him earlier about his decision of how he doesn't want to get married. Of course, Michael Knowles has a much smarter perspective on this, and he even stated right there, he's like, look, I don't have a problem if you're going to get married under like a religious point of view, which I honestly, guys, if you want to get married, I don't suggest getting married under the government. I would suggest more of getting married under the church and only under the church. You can go get married just under the priest, under God, etc. I'm totally saying like that's fine. But if you're going to get married and put full risk of this contract being potentially broken, an 80% chance of initiation by a woman, and then you losing your assets after so long of you developing it, perhaps you're 35 years old and you've already developed and you built your kingdom, that can easily crumble down because of a woman. Even if you read the Bible, a lot of these men, these kings, a lot of their downfall was done by women. The story of Samson, the what's his name, the wisest king, King Solomon, same thing. So there's been a lot of stories on there warning men of women who tear down the kingdoms of men. So that's another thing that Michael Knowles fails to kind of bring up, is that this is something that, especially in modern day time, is an issue for men. So a lot of men just decide, fuck that, I ain't gonna get fucking married. Then on top of that, you have the common law marriage. So a lot of these states just, if you fucking live with, here's the thing, if a woman's getting mail at your home, that's common law marriage. That's how they do it. She gets fucking mail for fucking 3 months over there at your place, boom, common law marriage. So that's another problem. And there's a reason why the government does this. The fact that the divorce rate has been going down because people aren't getting married anymore, that's a problem for the United States, for some of these governments. So what they do is they do common law marriage. So what that does is, now that you're common law marriage, now a lot of these stipulations now apply to you and your wife without actually officially getting married. And there's a reason for that. They want the woman to take your money because 80% of the debt is done by women. Okay, women are spenders, to where men are save their money. Okay, so women are the ones doing their money. So when a woman makes a lot of money, okay, and that's another thing, they've been in the workforce for about fucking what? Since the 1970s or so, and the 19th Amendment. And so they're the ones in the workforce, so that lowers down wages because now you're doubling the workforce. That's one. Two, so now we're saving money. Two, women are the massive spenders in the United States, or at least here in the West. 80% of the debt is done by women. So it's, in other words, the government has all the benefits of women winning the divorce trials. And if you're a divorce attorney, those motherfuckers make a lot of money because the average length of the marriage is about 8 years. Okay, so the divorce attorneys already know the odds of you getting divorced within that 8-year span is pretty good. And guess what? They make a lot of money. The state makes a lot of money. Everybody wins except for the guy. So no, there's no real benefit from a male's perspective to get into a marriage.
Let me ask you a question. So how many people get married and they think, hey, this is the person I love, we're going to be together forever. And then you hear that divorce rate, it's like 50% of marriages end in divorce.
I think when people get married very young, right?
Isn't that the best time to get married?
Not
Well,
necessarily.
Michael, your thoughts on that?
Some of them.
You're like an exception.
I didn't get married young, though. I've only been married now about 5 years. Yeah. But I should have gotten married younger. It's one of my quasi-regrets in life. But some of the best marriages I've ever seen were people who got married 20 years old or 22 or 23 years old.
So again, what I said in the beginning of the video, I said, look, a lot of these right-wing dudes, especially Michael Knowles, is thinking of marriage from the 1950s. Like my parents, they got married when they were 20. I think my mom was 20 when she had my first brother. So they got married very young, and they've been together ever since, like the past, I don't even know, like fucking 40 years or some shit like that. Like they've been together for a long time, and I get that. I understand that perspective. But the modern dating woman, as Michael has already heard from these ladies that are promiscuous, they're not wifey material, bro. You know, but of course, Michael, he's very optimistic. And the thing is, you have to be. If you're going to make that decision, you got to be optimistic about things, but you need to take into precaution in order to mitigate risks as much as possible.
I just wonder, Brian, if because all the objections you're raising are completely legit.
Sure.
I just wonder if you are looking at an alternative that doesn't really exist, that's illusory. Because if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to have more freedom.
Which he's not thinking that.
If I don't get married. I don't know if that's true. You know, if you're always in one of these situations, even if you're just dating, where you think, well, where are we? Where do we stand? Is he going to leave me? Is this, that? Is that? In a marriage, in a proper marriage, all that is gone. And so you think, I had a bad day, I got in a fight with my wife, I didn't do the laundry, whatever. Doesn't matter, especially if you believe in marriage like marriage really is. Yeah. You say this is an institution defined by real things. I made a covenant before God and the political community. I signed up with the government. They're going to take my money if I break this covenant. And that actually, it seems like...
See what I mean? Like, he's totally fine with going under the government. And that's a big problem here. And here's the thing, what I said before, marriage is for kids. If you have a kid with another person, you're locked in for 18 years. 18 years locked in, ain't no going back from that, okay? For the sake of the best thing for the children or the child, whatever it is, that's the main commodity, okay? So, of course, Michael kind of fails to kind of bring that up on what the main commodity of marriage is. What's the sacrament of that? So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Michael, come on, man.
Puts limitations on you, but it actually gives you a ton of freedom because you can think, oh, I'm here. We're in this. There's no getting out.
100%
There's no way out
agree.
but through, and so we're just going to make this thing work. I find it's a very freeing experience.
Yeah, what if you also meet someone and she's like, I want to get married, and you're in love with this girl? Is it a deal breaker for you?
I have not crossed that.
He hasn't found that girl yet.
road yet,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, my thinking on this.
And that's the thing. A lot of these girls are like, what if you love them? What's the definition of love? What's yours? And they'll probably give a definition, something dumb like, well, if you get butterflies in your stomach or some dumb shit like that. The real aspect of it is you get a bunch of dopamine hits from certain people that you either have sex with. Every time you have sex with somebody, the dopamine hit gets stronger and stronger, especially for women. And men can separate their feelings with girls that necessarily they don't give a shit about. So that's, I think, her definition in a nutshell of what love is, but she fails to really even understand what she means by that.
Is just you should never sign a contract with someone who's rewarded for breaking it. And in today's day and age, oftentimes if you break the marriage contract, there are certain financial benefits that you can reap.
But you can go get married in another country.
He already knew.
So, okay. So, yeah, that's the basic aspect of what Michael is kind of coming across on a lot of those things. Now, as I've already kind of broken that down on the perspective of a lot of the right wing's take when it comes to marriage, it's still better than some of the vast majority of the left wing's perspective on marriage and relationships and stuff like that. If you guys ever see like Destiny, that blue-haired lefty type of guy, he's a dude that allows his wife to go and smash other dudes. So there is kind of like a perspective on how the left sees on things and how the right sees on things. The right has it so much better, but again, I have my issues with the right on how they go about this fantasy world, because it does kind of tend to lead into a world that doesn't necessarily exist anymore. And that's mainly my problem when it comes to like a Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, a Ben Shapiro, etc., because they're not necessarily in the modern day society of how hypergamous women are these days. And they have to be. I don't blame women for being that. It's in their biological nature to get the best possible man that they can get for security reasons. It's been like that since the beginning of time, okay? So I'm not faulting on that, but I think a lot of these right-wing talking heads kind of fail to kind of talk more on that. And I think Michael Knowles needs to meet up with like a Rollo Tomasi to have a better conversation on that. So
Tatum, will you marry me?
Yeah.
Okay, put it. All right.
there you go.
Thank you, Michael. You're the best wingman
Okay.
ever.
Congratulations,
And,
man. That's
and
great.
Brian,
Best
I will
wishes.
be divorcing you at the end of this podcast.
Oh, wonderful. All right.
Ooh.
Not surprised
What?
there, right?
What's your last
She's
name?
keeping the last name.
Wait, are we hyphenating?
No.
No.
They both go no.
You're not going to keep your last name.
Okay, so here's the thing.
family's name runs out.
Yeah, there's 2 girls.
Only 2 girls?
Yeah.
Only
Well-
2 girls. Well, that's the way things shake out, right? I mean, your family's name is either going to be your husband's name or your father's name,
Why?
because that's what your last name is.
But why can't?
I want to keep my father's last name, so I'll just keep my father's last name if I get married.
Why?
But Michael, this is literally the virus of feminism right here that you're looking at. Women that don't even want to take the last name of the man that they're with, okay? Their father is the one that walks them down the aisle. They want to have all this fantasy. Oh, well, you should put trust. Who cares? Not one of them is saying we need to redo the divorce laws. Not one of them says that, but yet all of them just say, just trust us. We, love us, this and that. After they talked about their promiscuous past, that's one. And then 2, they don't even want to take the last name of this. I would ask Michael, if you're talking about, hey, just find a woman that won't divorce you, would you trust any of these ladies on the panel to get married and think that none of them are going to you over with your dumbass prenup idea? I'm more than certain he's going to be like, yeah, of course you're not going to trust these ladies.
Fiona Flynn, have you heard that? That's a great
That's
name.
a nice name. I'm not. I have friends who marry
Her excuse is that my last name is awesome.
guys with horrible last names,
Porn star.
but it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it does sound like a P-star name.
Would you
your
really?
last girlfriend.
When you get married, you would keep your father's last name? No. No, you wouldn't. No
I
way.
want to.
She's
talked about it. Unless the last name makes
Unless
my
the
name
last
really
name
cool.
is really awesome.
But
I like the
then-
way my last name
yeah,
sounds.
I like my last name too.
Doesn't that feel like you're not really getting married then?
No.
You're not really forming
No,
a new
I mean,
family?
if you're devoted to each other in every way possible, I don't think.
Then my
I think
last
a name
name's
is very
gonna affect me,
trivial.
yeah.
part of it.
Okay, before we lose any more brain cells. So yeah, the whole point of the last name is the father giving the responsibility of his daughter that he had to another man to do set responsible as well. Like that's how you take on the last name of the man that you love, admire, and respect. That's what that is. But of course, these ladies have grown into an era of feminism. That's what Michael fails to understand, that this feminist virus has infected the average woman that will think dumb shit like that. And when you have a whole panel of women on there, they tend to have a hive mind in agreement. So if one girl says it, more than likely the rest of the panel will follow said girl and basically go more and more into the dumb idiocy that they tend to spew. But anyways, guys, that's what I got for you for today. This has been Project VO-Pod. This has been Michael Knowles on the Whatever Podcast. I reacted to this on divorce. So like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll catch you guys on the next Project VO-Pod. Peace.